Go ahead and call the Ellis County, Kansas Public Building Commission meeting to order. Donna, you can call the roll. We assume Barb is coming, but go ahead and call the roll.
Chair Dean Hazelhorse.
Present.
Member Marcy McClellan.
Here.
Member Barbara K. Wassinger.
We assume she's coming. Any changes to the order? No? Seeing none, approval of prior minutes, March 9th. How about March 5th, 2018?
I think that's better.
Okay, we'll
I
do
didn't
that.
find anything.
I didn't either. They stand approved as presented. Consideration of accounts payable this evening. Didn't have any, did we, Phil?
No, sir.
Move on to the audit engagement letter from Adams, Brown, Barron, and Ball.
This is the annual presentation for the required Public Building Commission audit. You can see that the fee is $4,295, and there is funding available in the general fund of the PBC to pay this expense.
We will need a motion to approve that.
Do we need to
I think
approve
so.
motion?
Don't we have? Bill, do we need a motion? Approve the engagement letter?
I don't think so.
I think as long as the chair sign, the president signs it, we can.
Can you hear me now? Better? Sorry, my fault. My fellow commissioner isn't here to remind me to talk into the mic instead of away from the mic.
Okay. I approve, concur.
We have a motion to approve the audit engagement letter from Adams, Brown, Barron, and Ball. I'll second that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 2-0. Next item, executive sessions. Don't have any, I don't believe. We'll adjourn the meeting at 5:02. Thank you all for coming. Now we'll move on to the county commission meeting. Are you ready? We'll go ahead and call the Ellis County, Kansas Commission meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you have a hat on, please remove it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Donna, please note you still have your fellow two commissioners here. The third one is walking in. We have 3 present. Any changes to the agenda? Barb, any changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay. Prior minutes, March 5th, 2018. I don't have any. Good. Nobody else does either. Thank you. I thought I got left out again. This time I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through G.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda, items A through G.
We have a motion and we have a second. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Issues from persons not on the order of business this evening? Do we have anyone? I'm assuming you're all here for the next item on the agenda. I guess not the next item. You have to wait just a little bit. Monthly financial report. Questions, ladies?
I don't have any.
Marcy?
No, I don't have it.
Seeing none, we will move to the public request for tax incentives. At this time, we'll call Jeremy Schmeidler up here, and whoever you'd like to bring with you, please come up and introduce yourself.
We got a couple minor changes, so we got one.
Okay, perfect. And again, thank you all for coming this evening. I'm sure this is why 99.99% of you are here, so thank you for being here this evening and taking time out of your busy day. And for those of you that don't know, you can now watch our commission meetings live on TV starting at 5 o'clock every Monday, so you can also watch this from home.
This many?
First off, I'd like to thank the commissioners for their time and attention to this matter. This is a project that we've been working on here for about 6 months now. It means a lot to us. and we appreciate you guys putting us on the agenda this evening to hear what we have to say. At this time, I want to introduce the project. It's a youth indoor training facility that we're looking at building. I want to introduce here my facility operations team. Standing to my right here is Dusty Washburn, and to his right is Mr. Justin Hurl. He's the project manager for RDH Construction, and at this time I'm going to let him introduce the facility itself and an overview of the facility and what we plan on building here.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Commissioners, this is a very basic facility. Originally started out relatively smaller, and we grew as interest and whatnot came to be, and so we end up with a building that's 130 foot in width and it's 210 foot long in length. It is a steel pre-engineered metal building. It has 22 foot sidewalls, and on top of that, within the facility it carries a number of different components that make it kind of unique and special. Through the design phase, obviously the coalition of these young men behind me and myself, we dreamed up the ideas to make it usable throughout the community. Multiple facets, multiple sports, and not only just sports but other uses as well. So inside that facility you'll see it does have a 120 by 120 indoor turf facility area. That area itself is completely netted, and so when you look at the use of that, it's not just specific for baseball or softball. I mean, any other sports could use it. There's been talk of recreation for children and also for athletic, training or health, stuff like that. In conjunction with that, a full-size high school basketball court and a weight training facility as well. The front end of the building contains the offices, conference room for the teams to meet in and have little potlucks or things of that nature. Energy consumption on this building is going to be relatively very low. We've done everything as efficiently as we can. It does not have any cooling in the large area, so that part of it will only be cooled with large fans. And in conjunction to that, water consumption is really irrelevant. There is a well on the property we plan on using. We do understand that through the rural water, we cannot sign on to that line at this moment. So for now, we're just going to use the water well, filter it, and go that direction with that. The building itself is not required to have a fire sprinkler system, but we will have a fire alarm system in it for the safety of the occupants that are in it. Short of that, there's not a lot of other component parts that you wouldn't recognize in a normal pre-engineered metal building. Obviously, dirt work and subgrade stuff would come into play. Footings and foundations will all be designed by engineers, and the remainder of it has been a design build through local contractors. And I specify that because there is a large majority of the job that will be built by local contractors through this entire process. There are only two items that we had to reach out for because they weren't something in our region. One was the AstroTurf for the 120 by 120 area, and the pre-engineered metal building is sold by RDH, but it is manufactured in Texas. So those are the only items that we would not necessarily have coming straight from right here in Ellis County. So with that, that's just kind of a rundown on the building.
Thank you, Justin.
No, Justin touched on it a little bit, but I'm going to touch base on facility uses. First off, the dynamics of sports in the town have changed. There's a significant amount of competitive teams, what we also refer to as traveling teams in the area. Just to touch on that, we have a baseball club that we started called the Hayes Baseball Club. We currently have about 60 to 70 kids actively involved with our club. There's approximately 20 to 25 traveling baseball and softball teams here in the area. We've reached out to the Hayes Soccer Club. They have 9 traveling soccer teams. There's approximately 25 to 30 traveling basketball teams, plus high school kids that we haven't really included in our numbers. But we're looking at an immediate impact of approximately 500 kids in the area that could potentially use this facility. As far as our business model, we're going to be doing, people can be members through individual memberships, family memberships, team memberships. We're also going to be doing private and semi-private instructions and lessons, as well as camps. So multiple ways. We haven't yet nailed down cost. We've been asked about that frequently by everybody in the public as to what this is going to cost. And obviously, the property tax issue that we're looking at tonight is a major cost that we need to assess before we can put a price tag on what it's going to cost members of the community. Obviously, keeping costs down and keeping all the costs down are going to be a major component of keeping this affordable. Economic impact, we've reached out and talked with Sarah Bloom just a little bit about this. The facility itself doesn't have a direct major economic impact. You know, we are going to have the camps and the showcases. There are going to be probably a significant, probably more than we think, a number of kids that are going to be driving in from outside communities to utilize this facility. However, our indirect impact of competitive sports is significant. And all around the state, without competitive traveling teams, there's nobody that would ever host a tournament. So the economic impact of getting families to Hayes for the weekend is significant. And a majority of the kids involved with our facility belong to those competitive traveling teams. Now, I want to make one note that you don't have to be part of a competitive traveling team to utilize this facility. It's going to be open to everybody. As far as the facility operations, the facility, the construction is 100% privately funded. The approximate appraised value of it right now is at $1,058,000. The estimated annual property taxes with the project are $24,600. Our other annual operations costs look to be approximately $16,000, and that puts the property taxes equaling about 61% of our fixed overhead just to keep the lights on. Our figures do not account for full and part-time labor. Just to do a comparable, Great Bend has a facility, and it's 25,000 square feet. They pay $8,500 in property tax, roughly. There's a facility called the 365 Sports Facility in Inman, Kansas. It's 21,000 square feet, and they pay around $7,200 a year in property tax. So using comparable facilities, we're about 2.5 to 3 times as much. As for our proposal, we have explored a lot of options over the last 4 months. I know there's a fair amount of people following this, and I want everybody to know that we've tried to follow the chain of command, and we've tried to follow the lead of individuals in town to get assistance with this project. We've talked with the commissioners, we've talked with Phil Smith, we've talked with Lisa Ree, we've been to the Ellis County Coalition for Economic Development, Aaron White. We've even talked with the regional development manager, Dan Steffen, and we've also had Jeter Law Firm involved, all looking for solutions to help us get this project underway. We've been unable at this point to come up with an abatement. That was our initial request, was go get a tax abatement. We're outside of the NRP. We've just really explored about every option that we could possibly explore up to this point. As for our proposal, we would like to propose that we would pay $61.50 a year flat in property tax for a 10-year period, with a 1.5% a year compounded increase for an additional 10 years. This plan has the potential for $128,000 in property tax to be collected over 20 years, versus zero if the project is not completed. So, you know, the other option, we'd also like to make a request to the commissioners to reassess the valuation on the project. We do feel that the valuation is high. We feel that it could be in about the $650 range as far as the valuation on it, which would make a impact on what we can do as far as making this more economical. In closing, I'd like to say that this is a unique situation. This is a privately funded project for the community. We've been trying to be reasonable in this situation. We're not asking for no taxes. We're just asking for a manageable, long-term plan to where we can sustain this facility and have it there to benefit all the kids in our community. This is about the kids. We want to present a win-win. We want everybody to win in this deal. We want the community to win. We want to win for our local contractors, our local workers, and we want to win for the county. This is not really a feasible business plan. You know, this is not a project, I think somebody would have did it a long time ago if they thought they could make a living off youth sports. That's not our goal. So, with that, I believe that's all I got. I'd like to thank you guys for your time.
Sure. Commissioners, questions for Jeremy or Justin or Dusty?
Well, let's see.
What, you're going to obviously get this insured, let's say it's built, how much would you get, how much insurance would you get for it? I mean, what would you cover, and then value-wise, what would you
I'm
cover
gonna
in
let
insurance?
Dusty Washburn answer that question. He's handling the insurance on it.
Okay,
The current reconstruction cost based on the insurance side, which is probably a different model than they use maybe in your guys' situation, is somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million, depending on exactly what we do. As the project hopefully moves forward, that number is obviously going to slide up or down the scale based upon, you know, the full gamut of things that we're able to provide in the facility. So I would say, yeah, somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million, depending upon where we get to.
the only reason I bring that up is to point out that what our appraiser came up with is not far outside the ballpark, if that's what you would be insuring it for. So I'm just trying to give you some reference points.
Sure,
Since
absolutely.
You do too.
Sure.
I think we can't give you a tax abatement.
Sure.
We're not legally, we can't do it. But what I would suggest is that we use some of our economic development funds so that this can be, very rarely do we have the opportunity where someone's going to get something done like this in Ellis County, number one. Number two, they're all paid for. So this is something that has all the backing behind it before they even get off the ground. And obviously, you have a few people behind you. Not literally, not just literally. So my suggestion to the commission is that we consider using economic development funds to help ease the first few years, and I'm not sure, I wouldn't go past 5.
Okay.
Because I think giving you 5 years is plenty of time.
I would agree with that 100%.
'cause if
You're
it's-
spot on. You know, we figured why not shoot for the moon?
That's right.
I guess you're most
Well, that's
so
okay.
why not? Yeah.
The worst thing that can
Obviously.
happen is someone can say no.
Sure, absolutely.
So-
And that's why we're here. And I just kind of want to reiterate what both of these guys said. Obviously, it means something to the community, or these people can be here. Second of all, we appreciate you guys taking the time to hear what we have to say. So,
And Jeremy understood, I've had a couple conversations with Jeremy, and he understands that we're bound by state statute on the property tax, but, again, we have some other avenues, and I know you guys have explored a lot of people, different avenues, different ways you could go, and hopefully there's still some other avenues, but I'm with Barb on that. I mean, we have that economic development money. I know all the traveling teams of friends I know that travel across the state, and they stay out of town Friday night, Saturday night, come home Sunday, and just the restaurants they eat in, the motels they stay at. We're building a new convention center in Hayes here very near future. I think it's a win-win just for Hayes alone to start bringing these tournaments here. When I know a lot of my friends, they travel to Salina, Topeka, Kansas City, Wichita, Hutchinson
sure. One
every
thing,
weekend.
just to touch on that, we actually, as part of our club, the 365 facility in Inman, they operate a baseball, softball club called the Central Kansas Crushers. And we've developed a relationship with them, as well as Great Bend. And basically, it's on a handshake, but we reciprocate with each other. We force all of our teams to go play in their tournaments, and they bring their kids here. a couple times a year. Like I said, it's a handshake deal. It's nothing that's signed, sealed, and delivered, but we've developed a good relationship with them, and we feel like, that McPherson, Inman, that group of people could go 40 minutes to Wichita, but they come to Hayes because we've developed that relationship with them. So, as he talked about the indirect economic impact, I think that's a pretty large thing.
Definitely. I just know how much they talk about, how much they travel out of town, and
Right.
we could do the same thing here, bring them to Hayes. I mean, we keep building motels and convention center and different things, so. Nope, thank you guys for coming, and it's something we have to talk about. It's new to us too. It's never happened in my 7 years as a commissioner, and I don't think it's happened in not my fellow commissioners either, so, it's new to us, and I've had conversations with Phil and Bill also, and, it's, definitely new to us also to somebody bringing such a facility to Hayes, and we appreciate you guys putting all the work into it you have, and it's nice to see a young group of young men doing this project and has benefits for many years down the road.
Dean, when do you guys feel you guys would have a solution for us? What kind of time frame are we looking at?
2 weeks? Do you think?
Well, we only have one more meeting this month.
Oh, that's right, this year we only have one next month. Maybe the first week in April, possibly. I think that could be,
Give the other, I've been thinking about it, so bringing this up gives them an opportunity to figure out how much they're willing to spend of their economic development funds
I
as
mean,
well. And
if we give you an answer the first week in April, that's
The 2nd is our meeting.
it's April 2nd. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that would be, I know you guys are wanting to break ground. I know all three of you are excited about this project, but you're going to have to give us just a little time to go through it all so we can give you guys a number to see if that number will work with you guys.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what kind of funds you guys have available?
Total, I don't know what we have in the account. Can you-
49,995,
What's in it now? Almost 50?
8750. I knew it was close.
Just
Keep
call it-
saying numbers, you'll hit one eventually. 47.5.
47.5.
47.5, yeah.
I knew I was not
Very
too far
close,
away.
Commissioner.
Good job.
I'm pleased to know that you want to do something for the youth of Ellis County and want to keep people in Ellis County. This is what our goal is. And so, thank you for presenting this, and we'll help wherever we can.
And it does affect a lot of people, I mean, especially a lot of parents. What you have here and looking out there, I don't see any of the parents that are out there that called me in support of it, but I've had a lot of phone calls over the past week, Jeremy, since we've talked about this, so you have a lot of support out there for this project. I will tell you that. So, thank you very
It's
much.
sounding positive. Now, it may not be as positive in the end run as much as you would like it to be positive,
So
but I
if you can
think
come
you've
back
got support.
the first meeting in April 2nd, I think we'll have a number for you that we can present back to you guys, and let's work on it from there.
Thank you, guys.
Okay?
Thanks for
Thank you
coming.
Very much for coming.
It's nice to see you got, oh gosh, Justin, what did you do to your
And
knee?
just because this part
Holy
of
mackerel,
the
stop
meeting
playing
is over,
softball.
the public can stay even though this part of the meeting's over from Jeremy's presentation. You don't have to leave. Even though if you want to, that's no problem. We'll
It
move-
doesn't hurt our feelings.
That's
Let's
right.
just put it that way. We know you
People
don't
get
really
up
want
and
to
leave
sit.
after the presentations are over in the past. We'll move on to modifications to the EMS union contract. County Administrator Philip Smith-Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, County Administrator Philip Smith-Haynes. Yes, anybody who's leaving is going to miss some scintillating stuff
Oh,
here.
yes.
So we
Very
talk about
very
our union
exciting.
contracts and our budgets. So the first item this evening is, as the chair noted, modification to the EMS contract. We're asking that the commission tonight approve revised language for the bargaining unit contract amendment for 2018. Basically, back in November, the language that was approved by the commission for raises for the EMS bargaining unit for this year contained an unfortunate circumstance that affects one of our longtime lieutenants, where one of the newer folks is actually getting paid at a higher rate than he is, and so we need to correct that. And then we've had some retirements, 3 retirements in the department that occurred at the end of the year. resulting in some budget savings, and that would allow us to go ahead and do some additional salary adjustments for those at the 9-year service level, and then also a one-step adjustment for employees at the 5-year level, and that is the same as what was done with the Public Works unit in those November amendments. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I would just like to point out that ever since, and Commissioner McClellan was not on the commission at the time, we did the Evergreen study for trying to fix our wages and benefits and compare them to other counties our size to make us competitive, to get the employees that we need. And we made a promise at that point to do what we could budget-wise, where we could, to make things right. This is one of those instances. We made a promise, and it's not good for a senior employee to be passed up simply because of verbiage for their raises. So I move the commission approve the Second Amendment to the collective bargaining agreement for the EMS responder employees, Ellis County EMS responder employees.
And I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion, Marcy, anything to add? No? Nope, I think it's,
I think we need to do it.
like Barb said, we did the study, we paid for the study, we need to follow
Implement.
what we did, and I think we're headed in the right direction to get everybody on board, so. No further discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Next item, budget parameters for 2019.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. Again, Philip Smith, Haynes County Administrator. So here we are in March, so it's time to start talking about next year already. As we do each year, we seek the Commission's direction on getting a message out to our departments and our outside agencies in terms of what we would like them to submit for budget proposals for the succeeding calendar year. In this case, that would be budget year 2019. So I have prepared 2 attachments for this evening. The first is a proposed budget calendar, which calls for starting the process tonight, ta-da, and concluding with the budget being presented to your commission on Monday, July 9th, and then of course you would set a public hearing, which is typically in early August. And the second document for this evening is proposed budget direction, and this is a little different than what we've done in the past, but I'm trying to interpret things that I've heard from the commission from various sources, including your commission retreat earlier this year and your discussions around employee compensation adjustments, as you just had in that last item. And so I believe, if I've interpreted it correctly, that there are 4 key priorities that the commission has, and that in order to achieve those 4 key priorities, we're going to be facing some tough decisions for 2019, and that some ways we can minimize the toughness of those decisions is to ask departments and outside agencies to constrain what they ask for on the front end. So I'm hoping that I've got that correct, but I'm certainly willing to answer any questions about the document or take any direction from the commission if I need to rearrange things.
That was very well put.
I think he read the directions fine.
I mean, we are facing, it's not going to get any easier for a while, that's for sure, as far as economic in our community. And I think at our retreat, that direction was given very well to you and those that attended, going forward, what we're going to have to do. You know, we're not asking to lay anybody off. We're not doing any of that, but we are going to have to watch where we spend and how we spend it. And outside agencies is a big area, as you know, we funnel a lot of money that direction. Barb?
I hear you.
Marcy?
I think so.
Okay.
So seeing no objections or other input, I will communicate this to our department heads and to the outside agencies as your commission's direction for budget preparation for 2019. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you. We will move on to Mr. Bill Jeter. County
Bill
Council
Jeter,
report.
County Councilor, I have no report.
I think he has a bigger meeting to go to tonight, don't you? School board, you have school board, you have a big meeting tonight.
Yep.
We'll move back to our county administrator report.
Thank you once again, County Administrator Philip Smith Haynes. Just one item this evening. The county clerk has asked me to check with the commissioners about the idea of canvassing this year the results of the primary and general elections on the Thursday following the, well, actually 2 Thursdays following the meeting rather than on the succeeding Monday. It's probably a little bit early yet to have a handle on your calendars for August and November, but that's the proposal, and as we draw closer to those dates, we'll try and iron out specific times, but unless there are any objections, we want to go ahead and lock those dates in so clerk staff can go ahead and put those in their communication to absentee voters. So.
Okay.
Back.
Barb, commission report?
It's just been a busy week trying to get my house in order, so, and my work done. It didn't help that my phone died today, so that slowed everything down. But
Days like that.
otherwise, yep, that was a Monday.
Marcy?
I attended the budget webinar that was presented by KAC, which was very good, last Wednesday. Then I had a Workforce One quarterly meeting on Friday. The economy is good. The businesses are hiring. Our unemployment rate for January was 2.49%, which makes it really hard for businesses to hire someone when there's not very many people out there applying. So that's what I have.
Pretty uneventful week for me. I attended the Smith County Commissioners meeting today via conference call, which was interesting. They asked if I would share my opinion on equipment that we buy for our county out at Road and Bridge. Some of the different things we bought that no other counties in Kansas has, but Ellis County. So I thought that was going to be a brief and very short deal, and ended up being on the phone for about 20 minutes at their commission meeting.
Did you suggest that we'd be willing to rent it for a suitable
Good
fee?
sum.
And
Yeah.
I suggested we could have some options. Maybe we could come help them with our equipment. But they are looking at buying some new stuff that we've bought in the years past, and they wanted to ask me about it instead of the salesman, which was, I thought, very interesting when I got the phone call. He said a salesman is going to just try to sell it to us. We want to see why you bought it as a commissioner. So I gave them my input for about 20 minutes this morning at their commission meeting. So first time that's ever happened, but it was all good.
So then what does it say that I get to go to the community corrections meetings? You get to talk to people about
There you go.
equipment. But I am on the evaluation committee for that, so.
And then next month, we have the little KAC. I'm sure you ladies remember, but
It's right
April
here.
18th. Yes. 8:45 in Colby, Kansas. Maybe 8:45? Sure. Donna says yes. Anything else to be brought before the commission this evening?
yes,
Anyone?
sir.
Oh,
You
We
skipped
do have
him.
one request for an executive session
Do
this
I have that?
evening. We need to meet for about, let's call it 15 minutes.
sure.
For non-elected personnel exception under the KSAs to do an annual evaluation for the position of county appraiser.
I so move that we do that.
I'll second. I'll second that. Sorry, I was really quiet.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session.
You need to include within your motion who's to be present at the executive session.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And when it will start and when it will end.
Okay. We will move to go into executive session at 5:35 for 15 minutes for the purpose of evaluation. And it includes the county appraiser, the county counselor, the county administrator, and the 3 commissioners.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
Yes.
We have a second. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.